Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business podcast. I'm your host, Catryn Becker. I love to bring you guys the best people because there's so much that we can learn from our success and from our failure and from all of the bumps and bruises in between. Because while a smart person learns from their mistakes, a genius learns from the mistakes of others. And I'm very excited about today's guest, and I'm going to give a little background of how this meeting even came to be. But first, I want to say Matthew Heath of Lights Follow. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So I texted this information that I'm about to share to you, but I want to share with the listeners. So on Instagram, on TikTok, whenever you create some sort of content, it always suggests these are some songs that you might like to use to accompany it. And I love music so much, and I think it does so much to transform the feeling and the emotion that I'm trying to, portray in any content I created. And your song, Live Your Beautiful Life, came up. And of course, with the title and kind of who I am and what I believe. And I was like, ooh. So I listened to it, and the melody is fantastic, but it was the lyrics that really grabbed my attention. And so I've been listening to this song. It's been on my Spotify playlist. It's literally been in my daily rotation for months now. And it was kind of this inspiration where I was like, who actually sings this? Like, how come I don't, who is Lights Follow? And that's when I started looking into you guys. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And so why don't you share why it's so incredible?
Um, I mean, the song is, Lights Follow started as myself and my partner, my songwriting partner, bandmate, Gray Griggs. And we released this song like in 2017. I mean, it's not new. And um about 2 years ago, Gray passed away, just completely out of the blue, unexpected. I mean, he was 35. I mean, this perfectly healthy. It's just like one of those things that you hear about, but you don't like. That's like, oh, that doesn't happen in my circle, but it did. And was so special about this song going viral was that new people would like hear his voice, would hear our song, and it like I've gotten so many messages where people like tell me how much it like brightens their day. I've gotten messages from people saying that like I didn't feel like living much anymore, but this song like helped me out of a hole,
Mm.
which is crazy. Like my fifth grade self of like, oh, I want to be a rock star. Like that's like the stuff that you do this for. You know what I mean? You do this because you want to like inspire somebody the way somebody else, another band or music did to you. And so for me, it's like I would talk to Gray's with Gray's wife, and we would talk about legacy a lot and how, you know, it sucks that he won't write another song. You know what I mean? That he won't sing another new song. And but it's like there was this, portal opened up, and it was like, well, that's okay because this song will live on and his legacy will live on and his voice will live on
Absolutely.
through these songs. You know what I mean? And just like the Lights Follow, our kind of thing is just kind of like the ethos is just existential. It's you got this, like it's gonna be good, we just keep going. Kind of, that's kind of the vibe. If I had to distill the band down to my elevator speech of what our lyrics kind of stem from. But yeah, so it's a huge deal for me that Gray lives on like this, and new people hear his voice. I mean, it's crazy at this point. There's like 1.5 million TikToks, and there's like it's like 700K reels using this song. And I know most people don't know this. You know what I mean? They don't know this story. Um, but for people like you that like take an interest and then like go and look around and then like make it means so much. It's like because people are like, I love the song, but now that I know the story, I just like love it even more. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just awesome. It's awesome that it's one of my favorite things about art, that like you can have a legacy that carries on, and it's not just like a self-serving legacy, but it's like a legacy that can help, it can serve other people, right? It's
Yeah.
like in service to other people, and which is awesome. And so,
Well, what I think is so great about it, and how it applies beyond art, is that most people give up too soon. It's
mm,
not that they're not doing the right things, or that that ever idea that was on their heart to do isn't the right thing. They just give up too soon because they're not seeing the traction that they expected, because we live in an instant gratification society. So I really love and latched on to the idea of something that you created all those years ago, which I mean, who knows what you felt about it when you created it, right? Like, did you think, yeah, this is going to be a jam, or
I
was it
mean,
just,
I feel like we knew, I feel like we knew it was good. Like we're like yeah, this is a good song, but it wasn't like, never, I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is gonna go viral in however many years and become a thing. No, I never. But I mean, I think when we're writing stuff, when I'm writing stuff, I have a like an inkling or an instinct or a feeling when something makes me feel really compelled or good. And what I've learned over time is that like if I feel super excited about it, then that usually translates to some sort of audience, right?
yeah,
And then
from
if
one
it's
to the many, right?
yeah, exactly. And but and to speak to like the quitting too soon thing, I like sometimes, because I mean I've been producing records for like full time since producing and being an artist and producing other people's records since 2014. So music is my full time career, I guess, for 10 years now. And um people are like, how did you do that? Like, how did you make this a career? How are you able to transition out of having to like work other jobs, or like I worked in restaurants for a while and stuff like that. And they're like, how did you do that? I was like, well, I was like, honestly, that I don't think there's anything special about me. I was like, I I just didn't quit when people dropped off around me. I was like, that's my secret. That's there's nothing crazy about it. It's just like you like you have to hold on like just a little bit longer every time, and then it's hard to go so long without reinforcement, right? It's like you feel like you haven't gotten a win, but it is important to cling to wins. Like this is a win, like this situation is a win for us. We've had other wins, we've had other cool things happen with this project. But I mean I can attest to that. Like you, if you're focused on something and you're aiming and moving towards it, like quitting too soon is the best way to mess it up,
Right.
so.
And
And
that's when
then
all the self-doubt comes in, that all of the things, or I think what also gets people is getting advice from other people who don't necessarily, it's not their dream, right?
mm,
So it's so easy for them to say, well, you should do something else, because they know in their self that they couldn't do what you're doing. So,
well, those people, I mean, yeah, it's like you have to be really careful about who you're talking to about this stuff, because people will project their fears onto you when you're talking about this stuff. And um yeah, so I mean I've encountered that. Thankfully, I've had like incredible support from the people that are closest to me. My wife is crazy supportive. And my parents, like my mom is like my biggest cheerleader. And like I remember driving to like a shift at the restaurant, like as a server, and just like be in the car on the way, and I would just be bawling my eyes out, like, why isn't this working yet? Like why am I still here? Like why am I still not not as far along as I want to be. And she's like, Matt, you got to have a strong stomach, you know, for this, like, because this is going to take time. She's like, but you can't stop. And was good advice. But I think that it is important to identify when people are speaking into, you know, what they think you should do, right? And like what they think your, you know, your path should be. I don't know. I actually want to hear you say more about that, because like I'm curious like what your did you like when you on your journey, did you have people that would be like, I don't know if you can do that, like that's a pretty hard road. I mean, what did people say to you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, and it's something that pretty much every single guest that's been on here has echoed at some point of there were moments where things got tough, they could have stopped, but they didn't. They just kept going. And I think, you know, that's where the overnight success comes from, is that whenever that threshold, that tipping point happens, and then it's like, oh, well, of course you're doing this. It's amazing. But it's like you didn't see the 10 years of hard work that
Right.
went into it. And something that I really wanted to discuss with you, because it was a question that you had posed in one of the videos that you have on Instagram about Live Your Beautiful Life. Like, how did this happen? Because at some point it had just been pretty constant amount of streams, and then it just took off.
Yeah, it just like it just skyrocketed. Yeah. So you're saying, how did it happen? Is that what you're asking?
Well, you were posing this question in this video of like, what is going on? And I've really been thinking a lot about it. And I think the world wasn't ready for your lyrics yet. I
Mm.
think 2020 was such a tipping point, you know, speaking of tipping points, and when, you know, that's when I changed my career. I was an engineer for 20 years before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I left that career in 2021 as a result of what happened in 2020, of the COVID pandemic. And so many people I talk to that have been on guests on here talk about what a moment that was in time to really crystallize in their mind what was important in life and what really mattered. Um, and so you also have a song called Slow Down. And
Hmm.
when you look through the lyrics of that song, and it talks about that we're all just wasting this time, that we need to slow down.
Yeah.
That's what 2020 was. That's what COVID was. It's
Yeah.
almost like that song was being reflected in, you know, the general zeitgeist. So I really loved that song from that perspective. But I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on, you know, you've been living with this song taking off now for nearly a year.
Mhm.
You've had a lot more time to think about it than I have, and what is it going to come to?
I still don't understand. I mean, I still don't get it. And I mean, I get it from the standpoint that it's something that people can connect to, right? And that like
Yeah.
it's something that people can listen to and identify with. It's a thing that like these are all like sentiments that we all feel. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and like I did a post yesterday. It was like just telling the story of where this song came from, you know, and like what, you know, what initially inspired this song. And what it was my wife and I, or my wife had just had our first child, and she's having like a terrible day, like awful. And you know, which is par for the course when you know, it's like you're a new parent, and that just happens. She was having a bad day. And I went to the studio, and Gray and I were finishing some songs. This was one of those songs, right? It was like he had a track start, and he had a melody. It's like just humming, you know, in a voice memo, da, 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 you know. And so uh, that's where the first line is like, tell me what it takes to get you feeling alive. You know, tell
Mhm.
me how to show you it's a beautiful life. It's like me just literally trying to make my wife feel better. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And that's it. And that's it. And
Maybe
so
that's how we all connect with it so much. It had
I
such
think
pure
I was
intent.
just gonna say, I just think that I tend towards like conversational kind of lyrics. Like I like to write lyrics that feel like something that I would say to you right now, instead of something that feels uh I guess overly grandiose or whatever.
Mhm.
Sometimes, sometimes your choruses have to do that because it's like, oh, it's a chorus, you got
Yeah.
to make it do the thing. But um, you know, that's something that I would say to my wife, like, tell me what do you need me to do? Tell me what it takes. And so I think maybe the conversational nature of that, is something that speaks to people. Same thing with Slow Down. I mean, that was written almost around, probably in the same month or definitely around the same time. And Slow Down was like, that was like a note to self, right? Because we just
Mhm.
had our first son, and I was grinding so hard to make this music thing work. We had our son in 2014, but 2014 is when I went full time with music, right? It's like a month before our son was born was when I did that. So it's like a really scary time. And I was losing perspective, right? I was
Mhm.
losing perspective that, okay, this stuff is good, and it's so good to hustle, and it's so good to like work towards a thing and climb a mountain, which I love doing, but you can't lose sight of like what your why is, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? And yeah, so I don't know. However it happened, however that this thing became something, I'm super, super thankful for it. I'm still trying to connect dots, though it's funny because like there's like this, there's this like there's all these people that have heard this stuff and have used the song, and it's like they don't know, they know about the song, right? They don't know about
Yeah.
us, which is fine. I mean, I think like that's kind of part of our like culture with content and stuff like that, where it's like we're consuming like songs, we're not consuming artists, you know
Right.
what
Right. It's
I mean?
very different than, what we grew up and having the CDs
Right.
and stuff, right? Where you knew more about the artist.
And I remember being like obsessed with, looking in, like learning stories about them, and like I wanted to hear them in interviews and stuff like that. So but what's great is that anytime I do make a connection, like a personal connection with somebody, it's like it's great. It's like with you, it's just it's so authentic and genuine, and it's like I feel like I'm just meeting a bunch of friends, and so it's good. So we're doing it one at a time, you know what I mean? We're making the connection, but the song is a great icebreaker. It's like, hey, you used my song, thank you so much. It's like, so
Well, I know I've been, definitely singing its praises, but I want to take this back a moment just to talk a
sure.
bit about Gray Briggs, and what it was like to suddenly lose your partner. Because I mean, that can happen in any part of business. You're creating this stuff together. How do you move forward? Because, from what I understand, how you guys worked is you did the lyrics, you did the melody, and how you come together to bring those two halves to a whole, and you lose
Yeah.
your half.
Like when the pandemic happened, we had already kind of slowed down a lot anyway. We didn't release that much through the pandemic. And um so it was like, and we weren't even doing that much Lights Follow stuff at the time, honestly. It sort of fizzled. Um and he was doing his own artist project, which I would love for people to check out. It's called Generous Gods. It's very different stylistically, but it's awesome. It's
Mm.
amazing. And I was doing a couple of other projects myself, and so the the immediate impact on Lights Follow right away wasn't that wasn't the big like dagger through the heart kind of thing, but what was like the regret that that we didn't keep going, that we didn't continue to do more stuff when we had time,
Mm.
right? And that like really got me, and that really I would it just remember thinking over and over, he's not going to write another song, like
Mm.
he's not going to sing another song, and that really bothered me. um and so you know, it's like there's two sides of it. It's like losing him and then thinking like, oh, it would be good to start this, you know, get some lights follow stuff going again. Like, let's get things going. Um, and then thinking, uh, you know, this doesn't even feel right now. Like this, you know, this half of this thing is gone. Half of this, you know, this thing that we created and built together is gone. But it's so funny. Like there's been multiple, I would say like 4 or 5 times where the universe is like, you need to pick this back up. And that some of those times have been were when Gray was living, right? And then some of the times were and well, and the most recent time is with, you know, with what's happening with Live Your Beautiful Life. It's like part of it is like, you know, it's like we put this thing down where it's like, I don't know if this is going to work, you know, I don't, you know, this is good, people like it, there's some traction, and then we would start and then it kind of like put a couple of songs out and then we would, you know, not do it,
Yeah.
not we wouldn't like continue the momentum, right? Or we wouldn't push past that precipice of like that threshold where um it just takes time, right? Like we've already talked about that, where it's like you can't quit. You've got to keep doing this thing. You've got to be laser focused. You have to keep moving in a straight line. And there's been multiple times where it's like something like this will happen, right? Where like, you know, one time was like that song Slow Down was the theme song for like a Netflix show, right? And then there's been a couple other things that have happened like that. Live Your Beautiful Life was like in a Toy Story trailer, you know, years ago.
Was it
Whatever.
really?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah, and it's been in a ton of stuff. Like it's been in a ton of like TV stuff, and I can send some stuff to you. So
I would enjoy that. Thank you.
yeah, and it's like, and it's not that I don't, it's like not that we didn't want to do that stuff, but it was more so like, I don't know if this can work. And the universe is like, dude, uh, like I'm trying to knock like every single time. I'm telling you, you need to do this thing. Like you need to do this thing. Like stop running away from it. Stop, you know, stop cowering, right?
Mm.
And and so like with this thing, as far as I was concerned, you know, when Gray passed, I was like this is done. Like, how can I do this without him? You know,
Yeah.
he's my partner. You know, and I had a lot of conversations over, you know, the past 2 years with his wife, and I actually helped his wife finish his project that he was doing when he passed, that Generous Gods project.
Mhm.
I helped her finish that out, and
Is
and
she
like
a singer as well? Is she a musician?
she's not, no, she's actually an author.
Oh,
She's a novelist. Yeah, her name's Lauren Nossett. She's incredible.
that's amazing.
Yeah, you should have her on actually.
I'm like thinking in my head, I haven't had a novelist.
Yeah,
Love that.
I'll send you your info. Yeah, she just put out she just released a book in November, but no, she's not a singer, but what we did was we pieced together parts that were already existing, and a lot of it was the same sort of way that Gray and I worked. It's like him mumbling in a voice memo, and it was even
Mm.
harder this time though, because like he's mumbling in a voice memo in a whisper because he's trying not to wake Lauren up because she's like sleeping. He's like humming a melody, so it was like a treasure hunt to finish this thing. And the stuff that he didn't sing, I sang in his place, and then we released it under his project. Um, but you know, that sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I,
pull
I'd
me
like
back.
to know a little bit more just about the person Gray was, just to,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to have that kind of, we never know how long we have and what will be remembered and how we will move on. I mean, obviously there's some magic that you guys put into your music that really touches people. And so I'd love to know more about him.
Yeah, I mean, Gray was a genius. Like he just was like it was crazy how fast he could conjure up melody like on the spot. I remember I remember we did a session. We had a couple of like K-pop songs. We wrote a couple of K-pop songs for artists like that did K-pop, whatever. And I remember being in a session with Gray in LA, and somebody's playing a track, and they played all the way through, and what he would do is he'd like sneak in the corner, and like he'd have his phone like this to do like a voice memo, right?
Yeah.
And, um, and then I would say something, be like, hey, hang on one second, hang on one sec. And then he would he would go back to the corner. And he's like, can you just play it one more time? Just play the song through one more time. And he comes back and he's like, what do you guys think of this melody? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's the melody. that's, that's definitely the melody. And that was it. And that was the melody for that song. It ended up being the melody, and that's what the artist cut. And the end. And I'm like, and I remember, being in when Gray and I would like be in sessions together, and he'd be like pacing around. He's like, "Sweet, you got some lyrics? You got the lyrics?" And I was like, "Dude, I can't work as fast as I can't just like pop them out. I'm pretty fast, but I'm not that fast." But yeah, I mean, he was a genius. We we met, we were connected um, through a mutual friend, and I just remember like meeting him in a coffee place in Atlanta and just feeling like, how like you meet somebody and instantly you're like, oh, these are my people.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
just get that thing where it's like there's this like familiarity, right?
Yep.
And then so then it's like that was a great meeting, and then we started writing and working like every Monday. He would like come to my house, and it was so fun because we would like we'd work all day, and then we went to this place that had like dollar tacos, and then we'd come back and like have beers, and it was just like it was just a thing. It was like
Yeah.
it's like my brother, and I mean, he changed the trajectory of my life. Like I love telling this story because I remember, it was one of the first times we worked together, and I had written something. I'd written a song called "If This Is What Love Is," and I presented it to him nervously, right? And at the time, like I was very much in this mode where I wanted to sign a publishing deal. I wanted to write for other artists. Like it was not in my mind to sing my own songs at all, right? That's not what I was thinking. And I presented it to this song. He's like, "Oh, this is great. This is dope." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Well, who should we get to sing it?" Because that's what I was doing at the time. I was like hiring demo singers to sing songs so I could like pitch to publishers, right? It's
Yeah.
like place this song with so and so artist. And he just like started setting up a mic and just like so matter of factly was like, "What are you talking about? Like, why do you want to hire somebody?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like who do you think would sound good on this?" Like he's setting up the mic. He's like, "You're gonna sing it." Like why? He's like, "Why are you? Why are we having this discussion?" It was so this matter of factly. Why are we talking about this? Like, just you're singing it. You sound good on the demo. You're gonna sing the thing. That's the sign. Like that. He was such a positive, encouraging person, and the fact that somebody that I respected so much like spoke that into my life, it was like I mean I can't describe like what that did for me. And it completely changed my life. I mean, because then I was like, maybe I can sing. I thought I could carry a tune, but
You didn't
I
think of
didn't
yourself as a singer.
I didn't think of myself as a singer. I still think of myself as a person that sings. You know what I mean? Like, um, but I own it more. I mean, I feel secure in myself or whatever. But um, I mean he just was such a positive person. Like he was hilarious. he was such a positive force in a lot of in a lot of people's lives. And that was the kind of energy he carried. And one thing you know, like one thing I say, it's like his wife and I would talk about this too, where it's like this dude, like he was like a sponge for life. Like he soaked it up. And I feel like, and that's not just like, oh, he's passed away. You know, it's like people say stuff at a
Right.
funeral, like it's not BS. Like he just like was so appreciative of life and had such a good outlook and perspective on it, where I feel like so much of us can live until we're 80 and not live that much, right?
Correct.
And like so I'm super thankful for that, right? Even though like he was here on this earth for 35 years, he he outlived people that were older than him. I mean, I'm telling you, like that was his life force. That was how he was. And it's so strange, you know, like because uh for most of the time we worked together, we lived in different cities, including, you know, but oh well, he lived in Virginia, and then he had just moved back to Atlanta, but it was still during the pandemic, so we hadn't seen. I mean, I want to say like a month. You know, it was like not there long, and we hadn't seen each other. But we started. We were like texting, and it's like we should, you know, we should do something. We should go, whatever. We should go hang out soon in person. And you know, it just it's just crazy. Like I just I mean, I remember his wife texted me the day after it happened because she just like couldn't make her body make a phone call. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I was like on vacation with my family, and I just when I saw the text was from her,
Oh, that was
I didn't even see the context, but I knew Lauren never texts me. Why would she text me? Like immediately I was like, something is wrong. And she's like, I just want to let you know, like, Gray passed away last night. And I
mm.
was like, what are you talking about? And I literally texted with him the day before because I don't know if you know what a Surrey is, but it's like a four-person bike, you know?
Oh, okay.
Like where you all pedal, right? And it's
Yeah,
got
I didn't know that was called a Surrey.
yeah, yeah, apparently it is. But so
Is
we
that
were
from like the Oklahoma, like the Surrey with the fringe on top? Isn't that one of the lines from
I
that musical?
may, yeah, maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe I think that's probably what it's talking about. But
Okay.
so it's like it's you know, it's like it looks like a little golf cart, but instead of having a motor, you're like pedaling. And the way these things were set up, they have like no mechanical advantage, right? They have like they're not
Like geared or
yeah, they're just tiny, they're these tiny things, so it barely turns the wheels. And I remember like we rented it for an hour and thinking it would be so fun because I we rented it at the same place that my family was on vacation when Gray passed. This was like several years before Gray and his wife and my wife and I were there before I had kids, you know. And so it's like me, Gray, his wife, my wife, we're on this Surrey pedaling, and it's fun at first, and then we're like looking at the clock and we're like, oh crap, like we're gonna be late, we're gonna be so late and we're gonna get charged. so so we're on this thing, we're like Lauren and my wife's Christy. I was like, Lauren and Christy, guys, get off, like, because we need to like get as much, you know, as much weight off as we can, so that we can try to pedal this thing faster and get it. They're literally like walking beside us, going faster. We're like, we're just dying. Like we're trying so hard to get this thing there on time, and we're so exhausted and just like laugh. You know, we're just laughing. We're deliriously laughing, and we get back, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's cool, man. I'm not going to charge you." But
I'm sure it happens all the time, right?
yeah, exactly. He's like, "Oh yeah, I get it." But you know, I texted the day that Gray passed away. I texted him at like 2 that day, and I'm like, "Dude." I was like, we're at Jekyll Island right now, and I was like, or I'm on the same bike path that that we almost like killed ourselves on the Surrey or whatever. And he just texted back a little bit and was like, haha, he was like in the hospital at that time, just thinking he had back pain. And that's what it started as. He just went in as like this back pain that started radiating. And they still don't, know for sure. I mean, there's hypothesis or whatever, but it's just so weird. It's just such a strange thing. But yeah, so you're not guaranteed anything. None of us are guaranteed this. And I think the best thing that we can do is try to serve people and try to, you know, be,
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean, one of the things that I talk about with my clients all the time is that, we can't change anyone else. We can only change ourselves. And
Yeah.
focusing on releasing all of that kind of regret and heaviness so that we can be more joyful and we can live our beautiful lives because we are dang lucky,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really love that.
I,
A
I,
friend of mine- Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, like in the beginning, I felt like you're talking about like regret, like guilt. I mean, I felt so much guilt in the beginning, right? When after he passed away, and I felt, yeah, I just, and I know that's a normal thing, and I know the term is survivor's guilt or whatever, but I felt, yeah, I mean, I felt like an immense amount of guilt, and then I just realized after time, a little bit of time that, he, the way he lived his life, the way he was so, just fully alive, I realized it was like a dishonor to him to do that to myself and to like allow myself to, I mean, sometimes emotions are lights on a dashboard and you can't control what you feel, right? But you do have to you do have to like try to gain perspective on a situation, like that. And I just realized I would be honoring Gray's legacy and spirit way more if I super appreciated my life and didn't feel guilty and was happy and appreciated the things that I had instead of wallowing in guilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was that was important. That was an important thing for me to come to. It still feels like he's not even gone. It's strange.
Well, time is such an interesting like construct, I mean, in our memory, someone lives on forever. Like, you going back to that Surrey ride, like you probably felt, your body still kind of feels like it's there right now. So
Yeah.
it's so interesting how all of that works.
It is, yeah. And I mean, I guess the older you get too, like you see things, this happens, that eventually we're we're on the same trajectory. It's just at a different time, like a different timeline. We're all going the same way, you know what I mean? We're all moving the same way. And but it is pretty weird. It's pretty weird when it strikes so close to home, what I mean? It strikes in the house. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think we can all probably relate to knowing someone that was a shocking passing. But
Sure.
I kind of wanted to shift back to the process of creating songs a little bit. My friend is a singer-songwriter in Nashville as well, named Lance Carpenter, and he had posted something a couple of months ago, probably at this point. But he was like, "What is it about a song that makes you love it?
Mm.
Like, is it the meaning? Is it the lyrics? Is it the beat? Is it the melody? Like, what piece of that is that?" And I really thought about it because I thought it was like lyrics is what gets me. And I'm like, but it's not always true because I
Mm.
can hear a song that I don't understand the lyrics. You can be in a different language and still be like, yeah, I get this. I like
Yeah.
this. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's good. Um, so I am a lyric person. If I'm in a room, if like I'm in a session with another artist, or if I'm writing for my own stuff, like I'm the person doing the lyrics, right? Usually, right? I mean, and other people too, but and I love lyrics so much, and it's so fun to try to figure out this puzzle. All that being said, I think that the melody is God, always, and I think it starts there. I think that when you hear when you hear a melody, that like that breaks your heart, or it hurts your feelings, or it makes you feel some sort of way, that's like that's the building in my mind. I mean, what do I know? I'm just some dude, but like this is how it makes me feel. This is my humble opinion. Okay. So it's like in my mind, the melody is like the big base, like the strong foundation, right? But then when you lay some lyrics on top of that melody that like are it's like it's like, this interlocked puzzle where the lyric just works so perfectly with the melody. It's like, wow,
Mhm.
that melody hurts my feelings. Whoa, those lyrics really hurt my feelings. Ouch. Ouch. So I mean, I think it's a tandem thing, but I think that really good lyrics are done a disservice without a great melody. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, yeah. So I mean, process wise, like even as someone who's a lyric person and I love writing lyrics. I mean, the process for me always starts with melody, and that was like that's how we did it with Lights Follow when Gray wrote all the melodies. It's just like it was always a voice memo with him just humming some gibberish and the melody, and that would always if it when he was on one and he caught it, I was like, oh, this makes it instantly makes me feel something, and just random words start to free associate out, and you build a story a lot of times around just those. A lot of times I don't have an intention when I'm starting something. I'm just letting something spill out, and like, oh, I could make a story out of those two words. You know what I mean? I could
Yeah.
craft out of that. And I think like I don't think that's I think that might feel like, oh, you're crafting a story out of two words and you didn't have an intention. But I think if it's all spilling out of and you're just letting it spill out of you, then you're going to tell the truth in some sort of way, right? So it's not like contrived is what I mean.
No, I
Sometimes,
get that.
yeah, so
I
yeah.
get that. I mean, music is just so transformative just in general. Just the alchemy of bringing in the melody, the singer, the lyrics. It's all frequency, even if our words have a frequency to it, and how we get goosebumps, how we feel it in our
Yeah,
bodies, we
totally.
feel it in our soul.
Totally. Yeah, it's such a it's such a it's still I still don't it's magical to me. Like it's like fair I don't know. Like I don't understand it. Like I still don't understand how it does that, but I'm obsessed with it. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with like trying to capture that over and over and trying to do that thing, and especially when there's connective tissue to other people that I don't know, and like I something that I worked on made them feel some sort of way. That's crazy to me. Like
Wild.
I maybe a bit of like maybe a bit of like imposter syndrome, on my part, where I'm just like I'm always very surprised when somebody feels something from anything that I've worked on. And I'm like, oh really? Like okay, like I'm very, I don't know, but pleasantly surprised and humbled and appreciative that people feel stuff from that and can get something out of it.
Well, I love where you're going with the new stuff. And thank you for sharing kind of your journey on how Lights Follow kind of started and the ups and downs that you experienced along the way. Because the latest song that I'm loving that you released was Be Bold.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
and so I'd love to hear more about, as we're wrapping up, kind of what's next for you and what's next for Lights Follow.
Oh yeah. Well, I find, like I was saying before, it's like I finally gave in to the the universe's prodding and knocking and whatever you want to call it, and I'm excitedly, full force all in on Lights Follow now, and we've been releasing a song every week and intend to release a song every week this whole year. So, and maybe
Awesome.
and indefinitely, yeah. So I mean, um, yeah. So just doing that. I mean, I'm I'm doing songs with a lot of great friends. I'm doing a lot of co-releases and songs with other great producers. In fact, to Be Bold, Be Brave, I worked with a producer friend of mine. His name is Torrin Dennis, and I'm just thankful for like I'm thankful to continue to have like these partnerships with people, and there's something special about doing something with somebody else. I mean, I can do 100% or song, but it's like when I'm able to work with somebody that there's chemistry, like the chemistry that Gray and I had, and that was a special thing. And I mean, I think that was like a once in a lifetime thing, the thing that we have. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm just moving forward, aim for the stars, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, I just want to keep, my main thing is like the ethos behind what we do is like I want the music to, serve people. I saw this thing, this content, something that somebody said. It was like you need to stop thinking about your art or your music as um asking somebody to do something for you, like please listen to my song, please listen to this, please consume this thing that I'm putting out. You need to stop thinking about it that way, because you are going to feel cringe. Like I have a hard time, the idea of self-promotion is something I have to push past a lot. And he was like, instead, you know, if you can think about what you're doing as something that is of service to people and is something that like they can take something from and feel something from and work something out from. And I was like, I can get with that. You know what I mean? Like that is a mission statement that I can very much get behind, to be of service to people. I love that. I want to do that. And that feels less cringy to me. You know what I mean? It feels like, oh yeah, okay, I can get behind that. If part of it still feels like it's like a little grandiose, speaking about yourself or your talents or whatever, but I have to get over that. It's like the the I guess the world or the market, I guess, has spoken in somewhat and said, hey, we feel something from what you do. And I say, well, okay, cool, thank you for feeling, and I'm gonna just keep trying to help make you feel stuff. That's it, I guess.
I mean, isn't that kind of what we're all here to do, is how we interact with one another and how we feel from leaving that
Yeah.
interaction? I mean, wasn't it Maya Angelou or somebody who said, people aren't going to remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Oh yeah, that's good. So
So
true. So true.
it's so true. And Matthew, thank you so very much for
Thank you.
sharing
Oh,
all of this. I've really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to continuing to listen to your music because I do enjoy it so deeply. Where are your songs going to be? Where can the people find them?
you can find our songs on any digital streaming platform like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all that stuff. Anything that YouTube, anything that you probably, that you use or have on your phone or computer, you can find it everywhere.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, they should definitely make sure they follow you there. Follow you on Instagram because you share a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You've put together a lot of funny videos. Like the video you put together of how the origin songs of Be Bold is pretty hilarious. I enjoyed that one
Oh,
very
good. I'm
much.
glad. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
No, this was such a pleasure. I always joke with my friends and say, I love to write songs, and it's like I love the process of that. But what I love even more is like talking shop about stuff and talk, you know what I mean, and talking about doing the thing that you're doing. So hopefully I didn't ramble too much, but I really enjoy talking about this stuff. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean, I would enjoy a second interview to go more into the shop actual like aspects of making the business piece of it. I mean, this was
Yeah,
way
we should
more on
talk
like that
business. Yeah,
piece, but
totally.
all right, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'll have all your information in the show notes.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
To the listeners, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe so we continue to bring amazing guests like this one. If there's somebody that you're curious about that you want to know more, please reach out. I'd love to see if I can get them as a guest on the show. Until next time, everyone, take care.